Today, I want to talk about what it's really like being an online course seller. Let's do it. What's up, digital dads, and welcome back to the channel. If you're an existing subscriber, if you're brand new here, I want to introduce myself. My name's Kerry. I'm the founder of Digital Dads, and I created this channel to help dads escape the 9-to-5 grind and create an online income through a digital course business. Today, I want to talk about some of the things that I deal with and go through as an online course seller or somebody who shares their knowledge with other people on the internet. And I think this would also relate to really anybody running an online business. You might also deal with these things, but today I'm just going to talk you through, 2 or 3 things that you might be dealing with, that I deal with, and I just want to talk those through and hopefully help some people overcome them in this video. This is in no way meant to be like a negative video or anything like that. I absolutely love what I do, and I think being able to share what you know with other people and help people through the internet and through online courses, I think it's one of the coolest jobs, the coolest businesses to own. And so I'm very thankful for what I do, and I'm very thankful that I get to impact people every day through my courses. But as with anything in life, there are obstacles that you have to overcome, or there are certain things that are maybe worse or better than others. And so I just want to talk to you about those today. The first one is working alone. In general, just as an online business owner, a solopreneur, whatever you want to call it, or somebody who even just has a remote team, most of the days you're just working by yourself. And, for a lot of people out there, you may not have a family. I have a wonderful family, and, I can always, talk to my wife or see my kids and those kind of things. And so I'm not always alone, but even for me with a amazing family, and I have a great community with my church, and I have tons of friends, here in town. Even for me, there are sometimes, a full week I might go without talking to other people really outside of like myself or maybe one or 2 employees. Like, it can be a very lonely job, or business to own, just working online on the internet in general. You're living the laptop lifestyle. A lot of times it's just you and a laptop, and you're just alone with your thoughts. And so this is something I think a lot of online business owners in today's world, again, especially if you're just working from your laptop or, have a small team, or you're working by yourself, this is something, a lot of people deal with. And some of the ways that I overcome this is, number one, I have to be intentional to actually seek out friends and time with friends and time with other people, right? So I try to go to, men's breakfasts, or, make sure I'm going to church each week. I'm really involved at my church. That might not be something for everybody, but definitely something you should consider. I'm involved at my church, so I see friends there, or just making that extra effort to invite friends over or say yes to more things, and just being intentional about being around people outside of work. Another thing for online business owners to really help you overcome this is being a part of a mastermind or an online course or online communities or groups. These are some of the best ways that I've found community and been able to connect with other people. Most times we often just think of like courses or masterminds as, we're just paying all this money to get some information, but most times that's not the case. Most times actually the biggest benefit you get of joining a mastermind, a community, a membership, course, are the connections you make with other people and the friends you make. And so I've made some amazing friends online through these masterminds and different programs that I've invested in over the years. And some of them have even become like really good personal friends. And so I think this is probably the best way for most people to really overcome the loneliness of just working online, is by making sure you're engaging, interacting in different groups, communities, especially masterminds, because a lot of times you get to go in person, have in-person events and those kind of things. And so I'd highly encourage you, if you're feeling that loneliness factor, maybe consider joining a mastermind, or at least a coaching program, even an online course where you can be a part of a community of people, you can interact with people, is a huge help. Hey, if you're a dad and you want a step-by-step formula to build and launch an online course business using the knowledge you already have, I want to invite you to download my free ebook and audiobook called How to Become a Digital Dad. If you just go over to kerryegeler.com/book or click the link down in the description, you can download my new ebook completely free. You'll get the audio version and the text version. So if you'd like to learn my formula, go get that book, kerryegeler.com/book. The second thing I want to talk about is the fake guru aspect of the online course or online information, niche, as you would say. This is something that I think initially early on is probably not much of an issue, but as online courses have like grown in popularity, there are all of this content out there and all of this, all of these people that are potentially fake gurus. I think this is such a difficult thing because, I think there's probably some truth to a lot of these really big course sellers that are just pumping out courses, on crypto or whatever the next hot thing is that they just want to jump to make some money. And the reality is a lot of them probably haven't actually done the thing and to actually be qualified to teach that. And, I think this can be a stigma around this community. And what I would say to you, if you're concerned about this, is that I think that you just have to have integrity with yourself and decide for yourself if you are, selling something that you don't really have expertise in, or you haven't done yourself. I'm against that. I don't think that you should do that. I think there's differing opinions out there, right? There's people who'd say, if you may have knowledge in it, but you may not have ever had success and you can still help people. That's fine. I don't know that that's really the definition of a fake guru. I think of a fake guru to me, like that term, are these people that are making tens of millions of dollars that have a formula that is just like, they can just pump out these courses on whatever and, make a bunch of money, and they're not actually helping people. But I think that, there is a stigma around that, of this whole fake guru thing. And I try not to concern myself with that, because at the end of the day, I'm only responsible for myself. And so I have to know for myself, am I being that? And I know I'm not, right? I am truly helping people through the information I'm sharing, or at least I'm making every effort I can to help people with what I'm sharing. And that's all that I only have a responsibility to myself. So I try to ignore the fake guru, community, whatever you want to call it, that stigma that's out there, because I know I'm not a part of that. And I don't want to be associated with people that are a part of that. If you're hesitant to launch an online course because, you're scared that you'll be looked at as one of these gurus, I think that, again, you're only accountable to yourself. You're only responsible for yourself, and you have to look at yourself. Are you being transparent? Are you being honest? Are you being vulnerable with your community? Are you being real with what you're sharing? And I think that's what you have to pay attention to. And if you are having integrity, you're having character, that's all that you can be concerned with. And I do think that there is a much bigger population of people and course sellers that are actually helping people outside of the very few fake gurus that are out there that are just pumping out these courses. But I also think as a course buyer, you should be very careful with who you are trusting, right? Check them, check what you can on Google, find out about them, look at real reviews that are not just posted by that course seller, right? Like, do your research to make sure that, you're following somebody that's honest and actually has the results, so be careful as a course buyer. But as a course seller, I think you just have to be responsible and accountable to yourself, and know that, there might be a few haters that will lump you in with the fake gurus. I get comments all the time on my ads and different things where people think I'm a fake guru, whatever. I have to ignore that, and I have to know that I am actually helping people, and I'm doing everything I can to help people, and I'm trying to share transparently and share honestly. That's all that I can really do, and I have to kind of ignore the fake guru aspect of it. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that, but it's definitely a tough one. The last thing that I would say I deal with pretty much every day and every week is imposter syndrome. If you haven't, if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, in my opinion, it's the feeling of, not being enough. It's the feeling of, am I acting like somebody that I'm not really? Am I teaching people when I'm not qualified, right? And it kind of relates to the last thing we talked about with the whole fake guru thing. I think those things kind of bleed into each other. But it's very common. First of all, it's very common for people to feel imposter syndrome, not just as an online course seller, but in almost anything, right? You can feel inadequate, feel like you're not qualified, or feel like you don't deserve the success, or whatever the case may be. Imposter syndrome comes in a lot of different forms, but I know for me, the way that it hits me is I often feel like, why am I teaching people this? Should they be listening to me? Am I qualified? Like, it can overwhelm you and really take over your mind. And there's a couple things I want to bring up that will hopefully help you with this imposter syndrome. The first thing is, I believe that you only need to be a few steps ahead of somebody else to be able to help them. And oftentimes the best help that you can get are from people who are just a few steps ahead of you. So when you're selling an online course, as long as you are helping people that don't have as much knowledge of you or haven't been where you have been, you're not an imposter, right? You have something to offer them. Because I think when you are trying to learn something and you're listening to somebody who's like light years ahead of you in their success, that, maybe like an Elon Musk who has billions of dollars, if I'm trying to listen to him, well, it's impossible for me to really relate to his advice because I'm so far away from him on the success scale or the, whatever richness scale. It's so hard for me to listen to him. But if I were to follow somebody who's just a few levels ahead of me, it's much more likely that I can grab onto that, to what they're teaching, they're sharing, and I can actually implement it and I can get to that success. So it's actually a good thing, in some ways, if you're just a step or two ahead of the people that you're trying to help, right? Another thing that I would bring up is that, one of the things that makes us as online course sellers feel like imposters is when we see students that don't succeed with our courses. Because here's the reality. The majority of people don't succeed with a lot of online courses. But the fact is that it's not usually the fault of the course seller or the course creator. It's the fact that most people don't put it into action. They don't actually consume the content. And I kind of want to prove that with a couple different things here. I would look at traditional schooling and kind of compare it. And what you'll see is the same thing in traditional schooling. The statistics show that most people who go to college never end up using their degree. Some of them end up going into another career, or, they just don't even need the degree and they wasted all that money, wasted all that time. Most people don't end up using their degree. And so should those college professors and teachers feel like imposters because their students didn't go, have a high paying career or have a really high paying job? Well, the answer is no, right? As long as those teachers are doing everything that they can to teach their students the right way, that's all they can do, right? And so that doesn't make them imposters, because the reality is every student that goes to school doesn't end up with a high paying career, doesn't end up having an amazing, successful life, right? Because it's up to them. It's not up to the teacher, right? Another, example would be, let's just look at an athlete like Michael Jordan. The reality with Michael Jordan is he missed way more shots than he made, right? He missed way more shots than he made, right? When we think of Michael Jordan, or we think of, these amazing athletes, we think, oh my gosh, they just win nonstop, right? They just make every shot. Michael Jordan, 6 titles, he's the greatest of all time, all that. Yeah, that's all amazing. But the reality is Michael Jordan failed way more than he succeeded. And we don't often look at that, right? And so every student that you have in your course is not going to have huge success. They're not all going to get the result. And at the end of the day, Michael Jordan missing all those shots is not the fault of his coach, right? His coach wasn't a bad coach because he missed a ton of shots. And you have to consider that, right? That every student in your course is not going to have all the success. A few will. There will be a few, successful students. All that you can do is share as much information as you can, transparently, give as much as you can, and do it, in an honest way. And that's all that you can really do. And so I think this is the hardest aspect of the imposter syndrome thing, is as a course seller, you'll see a lot of students that aren't getting the result. That's just the reality, right? And that will make you feel like an imposter. But again, I try to remember that every student that goes to school doesn't end up with a high paying career. They don't end up using their degree. I try to remember that most people, buy books and don't read them, right? I do think there's an aspect of that where you have to look within yourself. You have to examine yourself. You have to look at your students and results, take a little bit of a view outside of yourself, and look at if you are giving your best effort as a course seller, course creator, or coach. If you're giving your best effort, if you are doing everything you can to help your students, right? And yeah, if you're putting out a course that's not helping anyone, you might need to do something else, or you might need to make some tweaks, some changes, that kind of thing. But just because some students are not making it, not getting the result, does not mean you're like an imposter, right? And there is a quote from Jay Abraham, and I'll butcher it, but I read it in Russell Brunson book. He mentioned this quote from Jay Abraham, and it basically went something like this: that if you believe that you have something that you can share that will actually help other people, you have an obligation to go out and share it. If you withhold something that could potentially help others succeed, like you have a responsibility, you have a duty to actually give it to them and help them. And that's what I kind of live by, that I feel like the information that I have learned, the skills that I've learned, the knowledge I've gained over the past 5+ years of owning my own online business, doing marketing, doing all that kind of stuff, I have an obligation to share that with others because I truly believe it can help others. And so I kind of live by that I feel like you're obligated. I feel like you're obligated to help others if you have something that can truly help them. You have a moral responsibility to do that. So that's what I got for you, and that's what I want to share with you. Those are 3 things that I definitely deal with, and hopefully I've given you a few tips in this video that you can take for yourself and implement and help you on your journey as an online course seller. Hey, if you like this video today, I want to just ask you to back out of the video and just hit the like button. We're a brand new channel and we're trying to grow. We're trying to get this information out to more people. So it would help us a ton if you would support us in that by just clicking the like button. Also consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon to make sure you get notified when new videos release. See you soon.